Welcome to the Bold Analysis. My name is Frank. The Orange Democratic Party leader Raila Odinga, who is one of the core principals in the Azimio coalition, has made a sharp U-turn on the decision to dialogue with President Ruto over the current state of the national affairs in the country in as far as the protests by the Gen Zs are concerned. During a National Executive Council meeting together with a parliamentary group meeting with the ODM and also with the Azimio, Raila said, and I quote, that ODM never said that it was going into bed with Ruto. We never said it. It is a creation of the media. We are calling for, what we are calling for is the National Convention where all Kenyans will be brought on board to air their views. It is a fact everyone is annoyed with Kenya Kwanza. And just before I came on to this live, the Azimio coalition was issuing a press statement that was disrupted some moments ago. And in that press statement that they were issuing, the speaker, the person who was releasing the press statement is Honorable Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka on behalf of the Azimio group, but he started by first apologizing that Raila was not able to be in that presser that they were going to issue because he had other commitments that he'd been called elsewhere. Of course, this can be interpreted as, you know, Raila is trying to appease to the government over the AUC seat thing, and in as much as he wants to dialogue also with Mr. Ruto, but then he's also worriedly concerned about whatever his support base is going to say about this, because they've shown it clearly that they do not want a dialogue. So he's just playing the trend that he's been playing, you know, in the recent past. Whenever Azimio issues press statements, he chooses to stay away, or rather gives the podium to whoever is going to release to read that press statement. Then he goes away, doesn't even stand behind in most occasions. So this seems to be a sharp U-turn in regards to what we've been hearing, that in the past weeks, you know, we've been having reliable information that he's been the one championing for his members to support this issue of dialogue, and he's commanded, he is reported to have commanded or given orders to his two deputies, that is Honorable Wycliffe Oparanya and Hassan Joho, to champion for this from their regions, because the dialogues would have seen him enter into some sort of a unity pact of a national government with the current president William Ruto. So Raila has been having flip-flops here and there in as far as the dialogues are concerned. So what might have informed his U-turn? You know, that is what I want us to look into as per in this analysis. You know, first and foremost, I have reliable information that there have been inside silent wars within his ODM, leave alone first within ODM. There have been members of parliament from ODM who have been castigating him and have been not supporting the calls for a dialogue, and they've made it clear that they don't want a dialogue with the current president because they see that the mess that is there cannot be rectified, you know, and they are feeling that this will have a huge impact on them and on the ODM party, especially now at a time that members of parliament are under sharp scrutiny by members of the public, and especially the Gen Zs, over their actions that they purport to take in as far as their representation to them is concerned. And that in a silent war has also been shown in the Azimio coalition, where majority of the principals within the Azimio coalition have been saying that they don't want any dialogue. There is this speech that was made today after a PG meeting of the DAP, that is the Democratic Alliance Party, I think so? Yeah, led by Eugene Wamalwa today.
I have no intention or any inclination to join William Ruto's government. And even if he offered me my previous docket,
you are not boarding.
I'm not boarding. Because I believe what is wrong is not really the cabinet. I believe we have a wrong leader in State House, and the problem is William Ruto not the dismissed cabinet or the cabinet that he's going to form. That is where the problem is, and for us to correct it, for us to end corruption in this country, for us to end tribalism in this country, Ruto must go.
That is Eugene Wamalwa. So there have been those silent internal opposition publicly by some of the members, you know, the likes of Jeremiah Kioni. Martha Karua yesterday did made a statement, Jeremiah Kioni made a statement, Kalonzo did make a statement, and now Eugene Wamalwa has made a statement. Wajakoya the other day made a statement, and now Raila seemed to be kind of lone man in all this push for dialogue and talks.
What dialogue is needed to get police officers whose faces have been in the media shooting wantonly, killing people? What dialogue is needed for them to go home? And what dialogue is needed on corruption? What dialogue is needed for the clear message to William Ruto and his regime that they must exit the stage? I think this particular Gen Z demonstrations were not by us. We tried as Azimio. We failed. Through the usual methods, come with dialogue, before you know it, co-option and compromise. Let us allow our children space to bring accountability to the...
And so that is what I think I was just waiting on that presser to be issued by Kalonzo Musyoka, which I think would just be otherwise a summary of this. Maybe that the NEC has formally decided that they are not going for talks, or rather they are going for talks, but we'll wait on that. But now let's have a look just into Raila's decision for a U-turn, which is in the offing. And the other reason that has formed his U-turn is the irreparable damage that the decision would have caused on his party, and that is majorly due to the pressure from members of the ODM party who have made it clear to him, you know, the rot and the kind of exposure that Ruto finds himself in, the dialogue would not salvage, especially now there are times that they recently had the National Dialogue Committee that they had, the NADCO, you know, you remember the one that was being done at Bomas of Kenya, that up to now Kenyans feel that has not particularly addressed their plights and challenges that they are facing. And of course, over the past years, the governments that have been in office have been using these issues of dialogue, task force, reconciliatory commissions, and once these task forces find their report and formally submit them to maybe the president, that marks the end of the road for these for such like task forces and commissions over dialogue, as per the one that Raila was pushing for. So the fourth reason that would have informed Raila's sharp U-turn decision was, you know, when he said that he wants to go dialogue, or when he hinted rather that he wants to dialogue with President Ruto, he thought that maybe this would help Ruto to manage the country, you know, to manage the pressure that was emanating from different sectors, from different sides, and especially by the Gen Z. So Raila also thought that he would manage his supporters, and that is why he's been flip-flopping. So on the flip-flops, not indicating his stand clearly, he thought that by doing that, he would be buying time to manage his supporters and then finally get into this. But then that has proved to be futile, an exercise in futility, and that would have informed that decision to make that sharp U-turn on the dialogue calls. And the other reason that would have probably informed Raila's decision, you know, ODM, there are reliable sources that are indicating that within ODM there is a general feeling that there is an alternative, and this is big. There is an alternative backup or political lineup that is being backed up by former President Uhuru Kenyatta, that in the event that ODM enters into dialogue with Ruto's camp, then the other political lineup will take shape, and of course with the support of the other majority of the Azimio principles. So ODM risks going into this alone, then the other people form an alternative political lineup that would likely able to shake or be against or be now as the opposition to the government of Ruto. So with that one realized, I think politically, when they did their calculations, it is still a time to maintain that unity of the opposition as per now. Then maybe those realignments, of course, they must be there. Come 2027, the realignments, it must be there. That is the nature of politics in this country. The realignments, we very much expect them, but just that as at part now, it's quite too early for the same. So maybe Raila Odinga in his mind was trying to prevent the early development of the same. Maybe that one should be developed at later stages of the politics, maybe to the immediate run-up to the 2027 general elections. So, you know, the other reason that the reliable sources are also confirming was that the dialogue with Kenya Kwanza would actually help Ruto to maneuver the current political tensions and the situation, the awkward, of course, situation that he finds himself in, and that would have vindicated some statements that have been made in the past, statements like the one that was being made by the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, that this is a shareholders government, that you first have to subscribe in order to be a shareholder. So by virtue that ADM could get into this, then it would have vindicated Gachagua that, you know, you have to go through certain steps in order to become a shareholder or to be considered for appointments to this government, because if that dialogue would or will go through, then we'll have some members or names from ODM seconded to the cabinet already, with information that the likes of Hassan Joho and Wycliffe Oparanya were likely able to make it to the next cabinet. And you know, the earlier reasons that maybe informed Raila's decision to present himself or his party or the Azimio coalition ready for dialogue with Ruto was an instance where, according to them and some of the insiders, they didn't expect this wave by the Gen Zs. You know, for quite a long time, the opposition has been silent on some issues that are in this country, and so the action of the Gen Zs to come out boldly and on the streets against all this caught them by surprise. And in that event, they saw that the Gen Zs hijacked the opposition and hijacked the voice of the opposition. So it was all a mechanism of trying to rehijack and trying to redefine and reestablish their position as the opposition of this country. So, you know, that would have informed that earlier decision. So maybe we are waiting to see the other developments that will come in place. Of course, Kenyans have been particularly calling out Raila's name, and they've said clearly that they don't want this dialogue with Ruto's government. So it's a matter of wait and see thing. You know, we want to see how this will go. Of course, thank you for watching. That marks the end of our analysis.